Alright, it's pouring outside and I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to do a little video about the downsides of the DJI Pocket 3, the camera that I have been using to record these vlogs, but also a lot of shots inside my reviews on my main channel. And to be able to showcase this camera to you, I'm recording right now on the Fuji X-M5, which is also one of my cameras that I utilize on my main channel. But on this channel, I use the Pocket 3 predominantly because of its ease of use with the DJI Mic 2, but also for its size and ease of use to carry it around every single day in one of my sling bags. And if you are familiar with my main channel, I always tell that I like to nitpick in every single review video and showcase as many negatives and downsides as possible. Even as I just said, they are nitpicky because I feel like that gives you the best opportunity to evaluate if that product is for you or not, because you can then evaluate, do those negatives, do those downsides apply to your use case, or if you can live or work around those negatives and downsides, instead of just like covering the positives that basically you can gather from looking at the product page. But if I tell you the negatives, you can better evaluate and decide if this camera is for you. I feel like if you have been watching my videos, be it either on my main channel or this second channel with my vlogs, you already know some of the positives. For example, this being so tiny and small that I always carry it with me, that I'm able to record when people are around because this is so inconspicuous and small. And with the DJI Mic 2, the recording and the ability to record good audio inside this camera, all of that you already know. So let's talk a little bit about the negatives. As I've said, it's raining outside. This camera is not weather resistant, so you can definitely not film when it's raining outside. Furthermore, this is fragile because this has a gimbal, so moving parts, very exposed to anything outside. You do not want to kind of drop this and crack the gimbal. Furthermore, you maybe need to take care of nothing getting inside. That being said, over the couple of years that I've been using this camera, I've been just throwing this into my backpack, into my sling bag with all of the stuff around. I handle this when I'm outside with my dog, and I have never had any issues with kind of dust or stones or whatever getting inside the gimbal. Nevertheless, I really want to mention, I would not bring this onto a beach, for example. I would be very afraid that something would get lodged into this gimbal mechanism. So first downside, not weather resistant, probably not as durable as your action cam or your mirrorless camera. Next up, many people would say the battery isn't as strong as, for example, a mirrorless camera. But from my experience, I feel like the battery life is really good, and I personally cannot complain. But I have seen some people complain about the battery durability or long lastingness of this. I've been vlogging with this, shooting with this quite regularly every single day. Granted, not for a very long time, but at least recording a one take vlog that goes 20 minutes, like the one I've recorded a couple of days ago, where I was talking 20 minutes into a camera and then shot B-roll for my upcoming review. That battery was holding on quite well. While the mic, if you connect the DJI Mic 2 to this, is really good. Personally, I've heard a lot of people using just the mics on the DJI Pocket 3, but also on the DJI Action 4 or 5, and people were really liking the sound quality. I personally think it's just okay, because if you are in a vlogging situation, you basically pick up everything that is around you. And I usually walk around places where there are a lot of cars. So there is a lot of noise being picked up that is going on around you and mixing up together with whatever you are saying. So yes, the audio quality is good, but it will pick up everything. So if you are in a noisy situation, me personally would not use the internal mics. I would always opt to the DJI Mic 2, and I would really take care of placing it as close to my mouth as possible, so not all of the sound that is around you will be picked up. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. Good mics on board, so you can or potentially could use the internal mics and use the DJI bare bones. Personally, I would not recommend it if you are in a noisy area. Speaking of vlogging, what I do not like is the missing face tracking autofocus setting. You have face tracking. This will track your face and the autofocus, but will move the gimbal, and I find that very distracting. So when I'm walking and I have face tracking on, it focuses on my face but will try to keep my face in the middle of the frame, and I personally don't like that when the gimbal is always kind of moving with my face when I'm kind of like walking. I'm exaggerating obviously, but if I'm walking like this, the gimbal would obviously always do this, and I find this very distracting when watching. So I would have wished that the DJI Pocket 3 had a face tracking focus mode, like on this camera right now. I put it on eye tracking and it will always keep my face in focus, but obviously it doesn't have a gimbal, so it wouldn't like move. This has a gimbal and I find it really distracting. So I would have wished there is a continuous autofocus mode that's only focusing on your face but keeps the gimbal in place and is just there for stabilizing the video but not changing the framing of the video. That would be amazing if that feature was in here, because when I was vlogging, for example, I think like 6 or 7 videos ago, I placed this in front or behind my faucet just to create some depth. I wanted something in frame that was blurry, and I was standing right here. What I didn't really take into account while I put the focus tracking in the middle of frame and I tried to stand in the middle of the frame, it opted for the closest object to the lens. So the faucet was always in focus, although it was off the side of the frame, and I with my face was right in the middle where I put the focus marker. But yeah, it tried to focus on the closest item. And before you comment, no, I did not put it in product feature mode. I put it into continuous focus mode. And yeah, sometimes I feel like the setting of what to focus on is not perfect with the DJI Pocket 3. Next up, I like to shoot in the 180-degree rule, meaning if you shoot in 24 frames, I always shoot in 24 frames, you need to put the shutter speed at 150. Ideally in 148, but that's not available. So 150 is the closest that you can put it on. So you need an ND filter, and I always have a small little variable ND filter from K&F Concept in my little setup here, and I also from K&F have a diffusion filter. This is the black diffusion 1/8. I think 1/4 is a little bit too strong, so when I'm inside I always have the Pro Mist filter on here, and when I'm outside I have the ND filter. That can get a little bit fiddly, especially because these are so small. You try to not touch the front element of this filter, but because it is so small and it's so fiddly, I sometimes need to grab it with my thumb directly on the ND filter. And when I'm, let's say, a little bit careless and want to vlog quickly, there is a huge smudge on the ND filter. That is definitely a user error, let's say it that way, but still something that you will need to keep in mind. You will always need to kind of fiddle around with a filter that is magnetically attached to the front of the lens. If you don't film inside, or if you don't want to attach a Pro Mist filter, then obviously you can always keep the ND filter on there. Or if, like some of the new vloggers, always keep it in auto mode. And I can totally understand the argument to put your camera, be it the DJI Pocket 3 or the Action 4 or the Action 5, in auto mode. It is a much more easier and effortless way to vlog. Personally, I prefer 24 frames just because I like to look much better than something where the camera is in auto and kind of adjust the shutter speed to match the lighting. I don't like that because it yields in a very sharp picture that I personally don't like. So I always utilize ND filters and the 180-degree rule in conjunction with 24 frames. So again, if you put it in auto and stuff like that, then you will be fine. You won't need to use ND filters, but if you don't, you will kind of need to fiddle around with that. Next up, a really big deal that I personally do not like, and I wish I could switch it off. I made my DJI Pocket that it switches on or turns on when I flip the screen, but you can also switch it on or off. If you press the record button once, it switches on. And if you long press it, it switches off. What I really don't like about this, because this is fragile, this is a fragile part here at the top, the gimbal. If you put it in your pocket, or for example, this happens to me, I have it always in my case, but if you kind of take it out, you sometimes accidentally push the record button and then it turns on and the gimbal starts to move and positions itself into its recording position. If you take it out and for some whatever reason there is still something where you kind of want to fiddle around with it, or it bumps against something because it's suddenly starts moving, for example, you take it out and you want to attach your ND filter on it and you accidentally push the record button, then while you're still fiddling around here, it starts to move and wants to go into its start position. I don't like that. I fear that I accidentally like break the gimbal, because I don't know, I'm still here like this fiddling around and then it wants to start up but my hands are kind of blocking the gimbal motors or whatever. That probably won't break it, but it will put some strain on the motors and I don't like that. I just don't want to break it, because if that happens, I would assume like multiple times, then there is some stress on the motors and I feel that there would be some unnecessarily wear and tear on the motors that I personally want to prevent. So I would have loved if I would be able to turn off or at least button lock the record button so I won't accidentally turn on the camera if I just accidentally bumped against that record button. Yeah, but other than that, I mean, as I said, these are all nitpicking and you can decide for yourself if any of those downsides apply to you or if you can work around it. I mean, I personally, for example, the last mistake, I can work around that. I just need to be more careful. I don't mind the ND filter and that it's fiddly because the image quality is so great. I like the image quality so much that I can live with having this ND filter being so fiddly, and this is so small I can always carry it with me. This actually also works as a webcam. I play Magic the Gathering and when I'm on spell table, this is much easier to kind of position to film my desk instead of like a DSLR camera. This is the perfect webcam to kind of film top-down shots of your Magic the Gathering play table, because this obviously has a gimbal, then you can position the camera any way you want. This becomes a little bit hot, but I'm doing usually 3-hour sessions Magic the Gathering, and yes, this becomes hot, but it never switched off by itself and it's not unbearably hot. It's just something to keep in mind, and I feel like this is the perfect camera for anyone who wants to start a YouTube channel, anyone who wants to vlog, anyone who might need a really good web camera for whatever it might be. I know that might be an overkill, but having a good web camera, especially in combination with a mic, that is so good. I feel like this could be also perfect for any one of you looking for a good web camera. Much too expensive, I know, there are other webcams that are cheaper, but I like to have items that are multi-purpose. So for example, if you do a lot of meetings in Teams or in Zoom calls or whatever, and you always thought about, oh, I want to step up my webcam, and you also are considering making a YouTube channel, then this is the perfect two-in-one solution, investing in this camera, because as I said, I like items to be multi-purpose, so I make a very useful investment. So if you want to start a YouTube channel, then you could argue this is also a perfect Teams or Zoom camera for your computer. because you also get a really good mic in addition to your webcam. Anyways, I have been praising this camera quite a lot, and I can highly recommend if you are looking to start a YouTube channel, if you want a really good camera to always carry with you to document your life, or you also want a good web camera, DJI Pocket 3. Personally, I like that a lot. Granted, I think you can get everything what I said with the DJI Action 4 or 5 as well. If you don't need a gimbal, then those cameras are valid options. But I want to kind of keep in mind that this has a bigger sensor than those action cameras. And while you could argue that the image quality of both of those cameras, be it action camera or Pocket 3, are very close, I personally feel like there is a subtle improvement or better image quality on the DJI Pocket 3, plus you have a stabilized camera. Alright, that's it. So what do you think about the Pocket 3, and are you considering getting this or an action camera if you want to start vlogging like all of the new vloggers right now? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you want to see other investments that you should make when starting a YouTube channel, check out the video up here. And YouTube thinks that you like the video down here, and don't forget to subscribe by clicking the button up here. I see you in the next video. Thank you very much.